The premise of Run is simple. You are a fugitive escaping from the law. If you can get to your 3 stashes or your 3 hideouts and get out of the city, then you win the game. However, the premise of Run on the other side is also simple. Catch that fugitive, find them on the map in what is an incredible 2-player head-to-head cat-and-mouse deduction games. This is by Fowers Games. They've also brought you Burgle Bros. That's probably their most famous title, and this game is really good. It is. It captures such a wonderful sense of adventure, exploration. There's tons of replayability in here. If you don't care at all about how to play and making a decision for yourself, well, just trust me that this is a good game. But knowing that, now let me tell you how to play. First, from the perspective of the runner. Secret research. Don't open this until you've reached rank 4. What's rank 4? Well, I'm going to tell you in a second. Now, to play Run, you and your compatriot are going to choose from 8 different maps. These maps are double-sided, there are duplicates. You're going to choose which map you're going to run away with, each map giving its own separate, unique challenges and unique difficulties and little additions. But the first map that they recommend you start on is this one. Map number 1A. Each player is going to have this in front of them, and if you have the runner, you will also have this board filled with these directional clues and your runner, which you will put on the map in one of the starting spots. You're translucent because nobody can see you, because you're slipping out of the helicopter's grasp. Now, in the main area, there will be this evidence board, and that is how the runner is going to move around. They're going to choose the direction in which they're going to move. Say they're going to move north, but they're going to do it silently, so nobody knows where they've gone except for the runner. The runner knows. However, since they are hidden behind this handy-dandy screen, you see, you can't tell. You can't even tell where I am. You can't see me, is what I'm trying to say. The runner will then move, take their turn. They always get to start by moving twice, and they will choose the directions, moving around the map, hoping to get to 3 of these spots. These are where they can pick up their stashes, and then they can escape to the X. Whenever they reach a stash, they will also earn the right to unlock one of their gadgets. Now, the gadgets are special abilities that they can then play on a subsequent turn, and they can use that to do exciting things like grapple from one building to the next, moving around trying to get to the spots and escape with their life. But the dispatch doesn't see any of this. The dispatch only sees this evidence sheet and has their own board, where their helicopter also sneakily will start on the helipad and roam the streets, activating their abilities. Now, the dispatch has 5 total abilities. The runner will take a turn and move, and the dispatch will move and do one of their 5 abilities. These involve scanning rows and columns, flooding certain areas with a spotlight, or attacking a space. They're shooting out blindly, they're flying over the city, and they're just attacking it and hoping that the runner is there. They're doing sonic blasts into the streets, and hopefully they don't hit any pedestrians. Everyone else is wearing earmuffs. It's only the runner who hasn't had that foresight and will, start to bleed from their brain. I think that's the theme. That's the theme, right? When they use one of their abilities, they must flip it over. And if they missed, if it was unsuccessful, say I scanned this row, I'm in row 4, so I'm going to say, hey, I'm going to scan row 4. If they miss, they also get to draw one of these backup cards. There's a stack of backup cards here where each of them will give the dispatch a little bit more information. And so that's the back and forth. The dispatch tries to get information, nailing down where the runner goes, trying to get inside the mind of a criminal. Also having these cubes to map out, okay, I know they were there, taking their Sharpie board and saying, okay, guaranteed it was either A3 or A4, writing their notes, which can then be wiped away very cleverly to be used again on the next game while the runner tries to run and escape. But Chris, you might be saying, what's all this nonsense in front of you, all these cubes and movements, etc.? Well, that's because one of the really, really slick things about this game has to do with this little system, this little card, this ranking. This is to balance the game. This is to introduce new players into the game. Whenever you win a game as playing as one of these two things, you're supposed to scratch out a circle of this, and that indicates the rank of your character. That indicates how good you are with that specific character, and really balances to give any new person jumping in an extra benefit or a head start. The game comes with 5 different ranks for each class that improves upon the difficulty. So if you reach level 4 as the runner, you're going to cover one of these tokens, one of these X's, with an out of order sign. You don't tell the dispatch where it is, but you know that you can only move to exit in one place instead of 2, giving you a little bit less flexibility. As the dispatch, you start with these 2 cop cars that can block 2 spaces with duplicates, so that can be reflected upon the runner's map as well. But when you get all the way up to card number 5, not only do you lose those, but you also can only use 1 backup card. You only get 1 special ability throughout the whole game instead of potentially 9. This really ramps up the difficulty and makes it a lot more difficult, and really balances well for new players. As you can see, I've played up to level 4. I'm at level 4 on the dispatch. I've played a few of the runners, but I haven't won that many of the runner, playing on the runner side. But normally when I'm introducing this game to people, I say, which one do you want to be? And pretty much everybody opts to be the runner, which is why I've had more experience with the dispatch. Getting to that level 4, I'm not guaranteed to win against a new player, even though I know the ins and outs. It really scales very, very nicely, especially when you're introducing new players into it. That being said, I find the maps don't scale as nicely. They add in a few extra difficulties to navigate, and so I've primarily played on these basic maps, but I've experienced a little bit of the other maps as well. And what they have to offer is really, really exciting to continue that replayability, especially if you're playing with the same person over and over. And this being a 2-player game, I think it would shine at that aspect. I don't think it is exclusive to that. I just think you're going to be playing, the basic map more if you're introducing more people, but these other maps provide a really fun, different depth to the game, where there are waterways, and suddenly you can start using different tokens. Well, that's not a jet ski. That's a jet ski. You can use different tokens as the runner to escape the helicopter's grasp even more effectively. Or you can play on a place that has puddles, where whenever you go into a puddle, you have to leave little footprints behind, and so it kind of partitions off the map and creates a little bit more of a challenge for you. Or you can have a place that gives you zip lines, where the runner can traverse on top of the buildings a lot better, but will be limited, well, not that limited, by the amount that they can go up. There's a little donut sign where you can make the cops get distracted if you go to the donut office, be like, hey, the donut's over here, and make them take a break. It's just a really, really clever implementation, and one that doesn't overstay its welcome whatsoever. In terms of timing, I've played this game. It usually takes 30 to 45 minutes. I was just doing a show in Nova Scotia, and I played this a lot over break with various people, and teaching it to a new player managed to fit in over an hour lunch, which I thought was really cool. And sometimes we even got in 2 games. Like, these play very quickly, and it's a very exciting experience of cat and mouse. Not to mention that this little envelope, the secret research envelope, don't open until you've reached rank 4. I've opened it. I'm not going to tell you what's in there. It's minimal in terms of like gameplay implication, and honestly, you could probably open it right away. But I just this to me adds like a really nice touch. Both this and the ranking system give you a reason, a low stakes reason, to continue coming back to the game, to continue playing it, to kind of try to hit that objective and incorporate it into your new flow. I don't know. I'm a really, really big fan of this ranking. I love how all of the tweaks really help amplify the gameplay and create that gap in between the players, and bridge that gap rather between the players. I really, really enjoy on the runner side that your actions are limited as well. You only have one move up, and that's it. And so you have to have this puzzle of when do you move up and when do you move around the board. And if the dispatch is able to figure out that this right here is when they moved up, well, then they know that they can't move up again unless they sprint. I love that some actions are secretive and you won't know them, but the sprints, you can see that they're double-sided. They're so loud that you can run as far as you can as the runner in a straight line. Let's get the runner back in here. Avoid those cops. For the runner, if you're down here, you can run as far as you can in a straight line, whereas normally you can only move one space and creep, but the dispatch gets to know that you ran and sprinted upwards. Or maybe you're here and you just wanted to move one space, and either you were out of your move up, or you're doing that to psych the dispatch out and make them think you're going for this one up here, when really your plan is to just hit that and then get down to the escape. There's a lot of fun moments of psyching out your opponent. And I also like the balance of the roles too. My girlfriend Renee, she doesn't really like hidden movement games. And she was sort of mid-level on this. She would never want to play the dispatcher. She loves to see physical things in front of her. She doesn't like picturing and having to imagine it visually. She would rather she had sort of tactile experiences. And I wondered how the cubes would work out for her in that. She prefers more of the runner side. And even still, it's not something that she necessarily will ask for. So it's not something that's going to necessarily revolutionize people who don't like hidden movement. But I was surprised that, she would play it. She would have an okay time with it, and that's because the asymmetry of the sides is significant from a mechanical perspective, and I think it's great. I think it's great that it can potentially appeal to people who have those different perceived tastes. For me, I would love to swap between the runner and the dispatch. I've played the dispatch more, and so naturally I want to do more of the runner because I like being sneaky, but I love the puzzle of solving where the runner is, right? I love those moments, and you get them quite frequently, especially because of the backup cards that are pulled in, where you get that information. And so I love being able to jot down, okay, I scanned row 6, not in row 6. And I love being able to jot these things down and thinking, okay, maybe C4 or A3, question mark. And then I know I can go back, and there's a lot of tools at your disposal here that I think is really nice as the dispatch in order to uncover what's happening. And there's a sense of real anticipation, especially that you only have 2 attacks, and then you have to take a turn as the dispatch to flip over all of your tiles. I find that to be very exciting. Or you can wait until you've used all your tiles, then they all flip back automatically. That push and pull is really nice. I love the balance of the runner's board and how that it moves around and navigates. I love the play time. I love how quickly it plays. And I really, really love the variability of the maps. I wasn't expecting there to be such a delightfully variable game in this box. But even in order to see everything, quote unquote, that'll give you 16 games, right? You want to play every game, every map, both sides of the table. You got 16 games before you've even just touched everything once. Not to mention, every time on each map, the runner can start in one of 8 different locations. You just flip over one of these cards. They have a number on them. That's where the runner starts. Where the runner starts is common knowledge to the dispatch, to the helicopter. The component quality is really, really nice. Again, I love the ability to write on these. You can't write on the maps, which one of them here, that was my test, because I mean, it says it in the rule book, but I just forgot. And so I went, oop. So now there's a bit of graffiti on that roof. I bet it was the runner who did that dastardly villain. And it really embodies the theme. Yeah, I really, really enjoyed this one. This gave to me what I was hoping Mind Management would give to me. I had an okay first play of Mind Management. There was a lot going on, but for my deduction desires, this gives me all of that feeling, all that cat and mouse feeling in a smaller playtime, in a smaller package, with similar ranking. I think there's similar ranking. I know you can unlock things to make it more difficult or less difficult depending upon what side you're on in Mind Management as well. And so I really like this about it. I don't know, I'm very high on this game. The only knock I could give against it is that sometimes as a new player, it's harder to learn. Like it's harder for me to teach you as a new player, and I encountered this a few times because I can't see your board, right? So if that's your normal dynamic of one person is needs to check someone else's work, that's something to consider. Because I played it with, I don't know, 4 or 5 people who are newer gamers, let's say, varying levels of interest in the hobby. And some of the times we made a mistake and that it ruined the game. Well, it didn't ruin the game, but Renee's mom, sprinted through a building and through to the other side when normally the building stops you. And so those little details that sometimes you forget or you don't pick up on, being incorporated in that learning curve can sometimes skew the results or skew the same page that everybody can be on. But that's just the nature of this thing. And once you play it enough, you'll get those rules under your belt. I think I just noticed that personally because I was introducing it to a lot of people, especially because of the time that I had in between breaks and the people who were available. Yeah, but other than that, I really, really enjoyed this. This is a game that I would happily play anytime somebody wanted to. I look forward to playing these extra fun maps in more detail. I love the puddles. I love the puddles. I love all the little gadgets that you can add. There's a little motion sensor that sometimes you can throw on the map. But even playing primarily on the base map for 9 plays, I think I have logged, maybe 8, and the majority of those were on the base map. It still was a blast. It's a really, really well done and well designed puzzle, and I love that Fowers Games. Shout out to them. They gave me a copy of this when I was at PAX. And it's just like a family-owned company. They don't do a lot of marketing. He said, I just try to make good games, and when people realize that they're great games, they'll buy them. And it was such like a laid-back atmosphere, and I've been converted. I'd wanted to try Burgle Bros for a while. This is my first experience from Fowers Games, but it is really a solid high point. So in terms of like rating, I give this handily a seal of distinction. This is a very, very nice game. To put it in number perspective, 4.5 out of 5. But on some days, it very well could be a 5. You know what I mean? I try not to give 5s too often unless it's like really, really mind-blowing. But this is just such a solid design, really enjoyable concept, and highly recommend. Run, don't walk to Fowers Games. If you think this would be a good fit for you, yeah, definitely check it out. Has some constraints, right? 2-player only, has that asymmetry, might be a little bit of a learning curve, but not too bad. You want people to be approximately the same skill level, but I find that the ranking system does do a lot to help that. I still ended up winning the majority of my plays. I think maybe I didn't scale up quickly enough because I like deduction games and I'm generally pretty okay at them. Oh, the one thing I would say is that if you played this a lot, it could get into the sense of you have all the information. Then it just comes to a matter of how does the person fake you out, right? You could very well know and know absolutely that the person is either here or here. Or know that they're, without a shadow of a doubt, that they're here or they're here. You know that they're going to win on the next turn, and you know you can only attack one of those spaces. Then it comes down to a crapshoot, right? The person could go double back and then move up, and you don't anticipate that. It can get to a point where it might feel like, how do I even determine what's happening? How do I escape this? Or how can I even lock down any information that's going on? But for me, that's part of the fun of it. I really like that, the idea of playing mind games with a person, but I also recognize that sometimes those mind games, when it is, oh, you either did this or you did this, both of them are equally valid. How do you then narrow it down? It kind of goes into that decision space. I realize that some people may not have as much fun with that as I do personally. So knowing that those ideas can come up, knowing that the double back is as legitimate a possibility as the other one, something to consider. But for me, yeah, really, really enjoyed this game. High marks to Fowers Games. That's it. My name's Chris George. I don't have a catchphrase. Thanks for watching. And if you ever need to run away from the cops, well, just smash your way through a building. It's the easiest way to escape. A little tip to all you criminals out there.